Good evening, and welcome to CityView Inside. I'm your host, Liz Hatch. CityView Inside is a program that provides an opportunity for us to give you, the viewers, a kind of behind-the-scenes look at how the city operates. At different times, we'll hear directly from the departments that help keep the city moving. We'll also try our best to keep you informed on happenings in and around Cambridge. Today, the Affirmative Action Director, Duane Brown, joins me to help everyone understand what affirmative action really is and how it relates to the City of Cambridge's Equal Employment Opportunities commitment. We will also learn how he aids city leaders in setting employment goals. Duane, welcome to CityView Inside.
Thanks, Liz.
Thanks for coming on.
Glad to be here.
So let's get right into it. Let's define affirmative action, because I'm not sure everybody really knows exactly what it is.
You're right. So for our purposes, for the City of Cambridge, affirmative action is the idea of taking affirmative steps, definite steps to level the playing field. For Cambridge, that's for employment and for education. School department has an affirmative action director as well.
Oh, okay.
So what I do, and you said it in the introduction, is to assist department heads, managers, supervisors in setting affirmative action goals. So if they look at the department and they say it doesn't really reflect the diversity of the city, and that is the goal. The City of Cambridge has the goal of having this organization mirror the people who live and do business in the City of Cambridge. And as you know, we are such a diverse city.
It's
very all the way around. And that's a good thing. And having a workforce that mirrors that and reflects that is great. So if you look at a department, they say, I need to hire an IT person. And so before we get started, I want you to take a look at it, meaning me, the Affirmative Action Director, along with the Personnel Director and the City Manager. Three of us will look at it, or representatives from those departments. Look at the job description to make sure that it captures exactly what the department is looking for today, 2015, and that it's not something dated from 20 years ago. So we assist in that. Then the next step is, where do we advertise? Where should I put this? In what media should I use? What outlet should we use? And so again, we collaborate. The personnel department, city manager's office, and myself will sit down and look at ways that will attract the deepest pool, the most diverse candidates, in all aspects. So that's a big part of it. Also assist in setting up other parts of the recruitment campaign, interview questions, putting a panel together. One important piece of affirmative action is to make sure that you have a diverse interviewing panel. Again, all across the board, by age, sex, ability, disability, race and ethnicity. You want to make sure you have people who are reviewing these applications and resumes, from all walks of life. So we'll assist in that. We'll suggest different people who can serve in that capacity, whether it's in-house or whether it's outside resources, community-based resources. Then we sit in on the panel sometimes and do the interviewing and help to make selections.
Okay. So you mentioned your focus is on employment. Is
Yes.
this for potential applicants, or is it for employees of the city? What would you say
Good
happens
point.
there?
Both. So affirmative action for the City of Cambridge applies to both applicants and employees. So for applicants, again, a lot of it is where do you place your ads? How do you structure them so that you will get a nice pool of the best pool of applicants to apply.
What are some examples? Where do we advertise?
Oh, it's changed so much since I came into the job. When I first started, print was the biggest, some of the newspapers.
Yeah, well, that's certainly changed.
It has. Not only was that expensive, but it really wasn't the best way to reach people. Since you have a lot of online resources, including, like a Craigslist, monsterjob.com, all of those things, we do. Some departments rely on Twitter. They have Facebook pages, and some of the other newer, that I'm not as familiar with. And a good example would be the Cambridge Library. They meet people right where they are, and with Facebook and Twitter and that's a big way that people learn about not only programs but employment opportunities. Same with Department of Human Services, our police and fire, public safety. They're very creative. As a matter of fact, for one of the fire campaigns, the employment manager had the great idea of contacting some of the movie theaters, and he was able to get some of the larger chains to do a 5-second spot. Doesn't sound like much, but a 5-second spot before the trailer started for upcoming movies that said City of Cambridge Fire Department, apply, and it was great.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah,
that's very very new.
it was, and
Nice.
it was exciting.
Innovative.
Yeah.
All right, so once we advertise and people apply, if an applicant has a question, can they come to you before they submit their application? Can they, seek advice?
Absolutely. There are many avenues, there are many resources in Cambridge that applicants and employees, can take advantage of. But some of the typical questions that I'll get, and some of the ways that applicants will reach out to me, and vice versa, is they'll say, can you tell me more about this position? What are they looking for? What is the department like? How can I learn more? And I can be helpful in directing them to, the city's webpage or maybe a specific department page. Sometimes applicants will be very deliberate in wanting to self-identify as a protected class. They may say, I want to self-identify as being female, Asian, and somebody with a disability, or any combination.
Right.
Or another protected class would be veteran status, and that's something that is very personal to applicants and to employees. Some want you to know, if you're looking for a person of color who has this background, I'm the person for it. Others say, nope, I don't want that to be revealed unless I'm face to face with the hiring panel. So I can help sort out those questions for people.
Yeah.
And it's very helpful. It's very helpful to the whole recruitment campaign.
What would you say are some of the biggest challenges they come to you with?
Some of the biggest challenges. One of the biggest challenges, and also it can be a frustration that I have, is we have a great organization. We have about 2,500 full-time employees and another, say, 1,400 seasonal or part-time employees. And with that, there's tremendous opportunity. And it's always a challenge when you have a wonderful position and the response to a recruitment campaign, as far as you can tell, on face value, because you don't know until somebody's actually sitting in front of you who they really are, whether they, are female or male, or person of color, or whatever selected piece that you're looking at, until they're actually there in front of you. But you try to capture that before you start interviewing people, so that you can say, I don't think this recruitment campaign captured a very diverse pool. And what are my options? What do we do? And that's, again, I can come in and be helpful and say, you may want to re-advertise.
Yeah.
Can you afford to be without this position for another 3 months? Do you want to take this to a national level? Do you want to do a national campaign? Do you want to do a targeted campaign? Do you want to look at some of the organizations that historically and traditionally have been specific to people of color, or to veterans, or to women?
So what happens if a department can't wait 3 months?
Well, then a decision is made, again, in coordination with the personnel director and the city manager's office and myself, to see, sometimes we'll say we're going to have to, this is such an important position, and we want to make sure that we've reached the largest, group that we can, or the largest pool that we possibly can. And it is, that's tough, We're very demanding as a city. We consider ourselves a world-class city, and we offer superb programs with, excellent customer service. And we want to keep that going, so we want to make sure that we are responsive to the needs of the public, people who look to us to get business done. So, we're sensitive to that. Yeah, we know that you need somebody yesterday, but we try to balance that with the mission of the city and the city manager's office, and also the elected officials. We're all in, we're all in agreement, of what we're looking for when we're trying to put together this workforce.
All right. So what would you say the demographic of the city employees is in relation to national averages or national quotas that maybe we should be meeting, or, do we have to send reports? How does that work? Absolutely.
So, in one hand, I could, pat myself on the back and say we do a great job, but it really has very little to do with me. Okay. Being Cambridge and, being located where we are, with great educational institutions and teaching hospitals and all of this. This is, we're in such a great area that we get a very diverse pool already, without having to look. We have to take affirmative steps where we have to look at actual, this is something that we need to work on. For our organization, we are always looking for what's called O1 positions and O2 positions. There are 8 categories that are set up by on a federal level. Okay. EEOC, which stands for Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and we report to them biannually, and we also report to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts annually, and both have thresholds. They have these goals that we need to meet. And the way that is put together on the state level, on the federal level, state, and trickles down to the local level, is we look at recruitment area, and that's called the PMSA, the Primary Metropolitan Statistical Area. And that's where you can normally expect to recruit people from. And so the feds and, well, I shouldn't say the feds, the federal government and the Commonwealth, along with the city, we utilize U.S. Census data that says in your area, when you look to recruit for managers, say managers for the water department or for the traffic and parking department, 9% of the pool of applicants should be people of color. Okay. 48% of that population should be women.
That's very interesting. I didn't know it got that specific.
It does. And we can even break it down even further by ethnicity, by race and ethnicity. Yeah. And we do that, on the city's level. So to answer, the other part of your question, we actually do a very good job. But that doesn't mean that we need to stop.
Right.
It's always a challenge. You can never stay still because, you can look at a report, which really is just a picture of the organization at any point in time. So if I ran a report today, it would tell you exactly what we look like, and depending on what people need to see, I can tell you by department, I can tell you by job classification, I can tell you by race and ethnicity, by sex, by age, by length of employment. So when you carve it up like that, then there's still work to do. We are always looking to interview and hire more people of color for department heads. Yeah. We do very well, with some of the lower positions, some of the frontline staff, which is as important. Yeah. But once you hire people, you want to have opportunities for development.
Right.
You know, so one of the things that we're doing now, what we're concentrating on now, is what's called, and this is, you know, the city manager's terminology, building the bench. You know,
Yeah.
like let's look at who we have and how do we strengthen that bench? How do we
Right.
best prepare employees to be able to take over?
Yeah. So speaking of that, the city manager has a new initiative, the Cambridge Leadership Initiative.
Absolutely.
So can you tell me a little bit about that?
I'm a part of it, and it's exciting.
Yeah.
Right now, we're embarking on employee survey,
Yep.
and we're surveying everybody, whether you're full-time, part-time, you know, a newie, you know, an oldie like me. We want to know what you think of the organization. You know, it's one thing for me to tell you, or for somebody else, but as an employee, what do you think? You know, do you like it?
Yeah.
You know, what areas could be improved? You know, is it an atmosphere that, you know, nurtures you? Do you feel excited about coming to work? If not, we want to know why.
Yeah.
And we're just starting on this, so.
Okay. So
As a matter of fact, the survey just went out, I think, this week, but it's exciting.
it is.
And
what are we looking to do with the information once we collect that?
well, we hired a consultant firm
Okay.
called the Mediation Group,
Yeah.
and I'm very excited about them.
Good.
And they're looking well, we've hired them to work on diversity initiatives for the city.
Okay.
And you know, we have had diversity initiatives going back to probably the mid-90s. You know, we took, you know, initial steps, you know, to look at diversity, what I, you know, call baseline diversity. And you know, we've moved up from there. You know, it's time to step it up and to go beyond baseline or introductory diversity initiatives, and that's why we've hired the Mediation Group.
Okay.
And they want to do it right. So they're like, it's great to hear from this leadership initiative that the city manager put together, but we also want to hear from the people that actually do the work out there, you know, that empty the trash, keep the parks going, hand out those parking tickets, you know, the public safety officers, all over. And so what they're looking to do is to grab this information and build it into the trainings that they're putting together for us. And we have a pretty aggressive timeline. You know, we're looking to start this training in early fall.
Okay.
Yeah.
So aside from this survey, what is the goal of the Cambridge Leadership Initiative, would you say?
To develop leaders from within. You know, we have a lot of talent here.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time, take the initiative to hire people. So you want to retain them. You know, you want to, and the way to do that is to offer opportunities. You know, nobody wants to be stuck in, you know, in a job. You know, one of the goals that I keep in mind, and it's not necessarily a city goal; it's just mine. But I want to. Hopefully people will look at the city of Cambridge as a career. You know, a lot of times people are, you know, for many reasons take a job because they have to, either to put a roof over their heads, to put food on the table, take care of a family. And it's, you know, and that's good. That's admirable, and it's, you know, it's worthwhile. You know, people do what they have to do. But it's also rewarding to be able to pick, you know, a career by choice, something that you choose to do.
Yes.
And it's not always easy when you are working to you know, to meet those needs, to support a family, to, you know, like I said, to you know, pay your rent or pay a mortgage. So one of the things we look to do is to make it a little bit easier. We've established partnerships with some of the community colleges in the area. We offer tuition reimbursement.
That's right.
We offer, you know, all sorts of initiatives, and we're getting better. You know, we keep changing it up. We're, you know, and that's, to answer your question, one of the reasons for doing the survey is to really hear people. What do you need now? You know, maybe we need to change it. How can we make it better to meet your needs?
Well, that's great. I'm sure everybody's really happy to give their input.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll be all positive.
There's always a bell curve.
Absolutely.
So in terms of the retainage for the employees, what are we doing now and what do you think we can improve upon for those areas?
Okay, well, just to throw out a few figures for you.
Okay.
Looking at new hires,
Mm-hmm.
Over the last couple of years, 80% of our hires have been Cambridge residents,
Cool.
which is, more than we could have hoped for. We always try to, we don't have a residency requirement like some cities and towns where you have to live in that community to work here.
Yeah.
We didn't want to limit opportunities for people. But it is great. Cambridge is a walkable city. We're 6.25 miles long, so you can get just about anywhere you need to be. It's a great place to work. Mm-hmm. I say that from the bottom of my heart. I've been working for the city going on 35 years. Oh, wow. Different departments, different functions, and I've loved it.
Yeah.
I've had wonderful people to work with, interesting work. And I think that answers your question. So how do you do this? Mm-hmm. You make sure that the work is interesting. And how do you do that? By making it meaningful. What is going on now? We're looking at, Cambridge has changed so much, in terms of, what industries are here. Mm-hmm. And we've been able to, keep our ear to the, to the pavement. Mm-hmm. and evolve so that we continue to flourish. Yeah. And that's one of the ways to ensure that we retain employees is to meet their needs. So, sort of a two-way street. Yeah. We look for people who have our mission at heart, to serve the public. We're public servants, and we want to provide stellar customer service on every level. Mm-hmm. And it's difficult. Public, can be demanding. Cambridge can be very demanding and is demanding, yes. But that's a good thing. Yep. So, we always look at ways that we can, support our employees.
Well, that's great.
Yep.
Looking forward to hearing what the results of the survey are and
me too.
What comes of it.
Me too.
Sounds like it's very innovative. It's exciting.
Great.
So switching gears a little bit, talking about employment in terms of the people that the city hires to do construction jobs.
Yes.
So we have some ordinances that relate to that.
Absolutely.
Can you explain those a little bit?
Sure. Okay, so you're right. We have ordinances that we follow, both on federal, state, and the city, has put together goals and initiatives that they want to see happen. So those three, mm-hmm. Keep us jumping and hopping. It can be challenging. On the good side, on the great side, we are fiscally sound. We are in good shape. Mm-hmm. We manage our money well, and that has. That's been for quite some time. You hear people talk about us having a AAA bond rating, and that's important. There are very few cities and towns that have that. So what does it mean in terms of construction? Mm-hmm. We can still build. We can still refurbish what needs to be done. Yeah. And so we get a lot of response to RFPs when we put out requests for proposals to do a job like the Foundry building, is one that you hear about. People that watch 22 CityView and look at the city's webpage, they hear about that. Yeah. We can do that because we have the money and the resources to make that happen. And in terms of construction, we can be pretty demanding. Mm-hmm. So when we have general contractors that respond to our RFPs, in it we say that if you're awarded awarded the contract, yeah. And one of the ordinances that you were talking about is 30B. We're a 30B city in town, under the state, which means that we have to select the most qualified, lowest bidder. Right. And you can be very specific in terms of what you're looking for when you put that bid out. So we always look at that, yeah. And we abide by it. And above and beyond that, mm-hmm. Cambridge has what they call the Cambridge Responsible Employer Plan. Yeah. And it has thresholds and goals that we try to meet. And in the good faith efforts, meaning that if we hire you to work on a project and it's city funded, or city and state and federal funded, follow these goals. Make your best effort to do that. And there's 3 that we have. One is for Cambridge residents, one is for people of color, and one is for women. Cambridge residency is 25%, people of color is 25%, and women is 10%. So it just applies to new hires. So if we award you the contract to work on this building and you need to hire people, make every effort possible to hire 25%, at least 25% Cambridge residents, at least 25% people of color, and at least 10% women. Okay. You know, and we're, you know, we make contractors stick to that. It's difficult in Cambridge. Yeah, the population has changed a lot, and we have less than 2% of residents who are skilled and or trained in skilled labor, really? You know, in the trades. So it's very difficult to meet that goal.
Why do you think that is?
Housing costs. Yeah. The value of real estate here. You know, people. It's hard to maintain a working class. People that work here keep moving further and further and further out. So that's a big challenge.
Wow. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. But we stick to it. We try to do our best.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So in terms of ordinances, are there any others that the Affirmative Action Director has to follow?
Let's see. I know I should have probably mentioned them, but in terms of construction, it's the Cambridge Responsible Employer Plan, 30B, which, you know, again, that speaks to the, you know, most qualified, lowest, you know, qualified bidder. Chapter 139, which is specific to roads and sidewalks, you know, that construction. Yep. There's a number of state ordinances, you know, that we follow. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot. So briefly, can you tell me what your favorite part about this job is?
I think being able to, well, one of the things I love is going from department to department. I'm never bored. And you know, so I get to learn firsthand what people do, and that's exciting. It's rewarding, and while I'm doing this, that's what I'm getting out of it. I think that I'm helpful to employees, you know, both in management, supervisory positions, and also you know, frontline staff. One of the pieces that I didn't speak to, you know, in terms of what I do as an Affirmative Action Director is, you know, if there are disputes, if there are differences, if somebody has a complaint, if they're not happy, I'm a resource there as well. People can come to me if it's for nothing more than direction. You know, they can say, this is going on and I'm not sure what it is. Right. I can help them, you know, in terms of trying to sort that out.
Great.
It may mean working closer with the supervisor, with collective bargaining, with you know, personnel. So that's a big piece. That's something that I think I like the most, as being a resource in helping to mediate disputes.
Yeah, I'm sure that's very rewarding.
It is.
Well, Duane, unfortunately, that's all the time we have today. Thank you so much for joining me. I really learned a lot.
Oh, I enjoyed being here.
Good. I'm
Thank
sure
you.
everybody else learned a lot too.
Good.
And thanks again.
Thank you.
For more information on this topic, you can check out the city's website at www.cambridgema.gov/AFF. For broadcast schedule information, you can check out the 22 CityView website at www.cambridgema.gov/22CityView. For the staff at 22 CityView, I'm Liz Hatch. Good night and thanks for watching.